Alright, another important strategy that should be implemented everywhere: the identity-centric strategy. Now, since the beginning of the internet, it was important to separate one another, to know who is who, and to be able to identify each person on the network, especially if you have a larger company with a lot of employees. In many cases, companies got compromised through authorization and authentication methods, whether that being a weak authorization strategy or stolen and weak credentials, it doesn't matter. What matters is that strong authentication can not only improve security, but it can also help us find out how we got compromised. Nowadays, when you log in to some website or you join your company network, you have lots of things that could potentially identify you. The most obvious one that grants you the access is the password. But password is not the only thing that helps identify you to the network or to some website. Other metadata can be obtained as well, and besides that, there are other things such as your email address or mobile phone that you link to the account in 99% of cases, which helps identify you through two-factor authentication. These are just the standard things, but there are other things as well that, for example, a website can follow and store. One of them is from which device are you logging in? Is it the same device that you use all the time? Is it a different device? What operating system is your device running? What browser are you using? Is it a personal device or a company device? Besides that, it should also check incorrect login or failed login attempts. This can sometimes be important when finding out if a device is getting compromised. If the log systems detect an unknown device for a certain account that tries logging in incorrectly multiple times, it might flag it as an attack. You probably have noticed on many websites that it will give you a certain amount of tries to log in. Usually that number is around 5 attempts. Now, this can be bypassed if it's configured to check this based on an IP address. For example, many websites implement this, but they tie the try attempts to the IP addresses from where they are coming from. So what an attacker can do is try 5 times from one IP and then change his or her IP address and try again. They can essentially do this as much as they want. However, brute force attacks on online accounts are not that practical unless you have a clue of what the password might be. This is because they are far slower compared to offline brute force attacks. Now, downside of using this strategy correctly is that it is rather complicated and expensive to implement. You have to collect and process all of this metadata from users and analyze it for possible intrusions and attacks. Many companies and websites also implement multi-factor authentication, however, they don't put it or they don't implement it everywhere. So some parts are usually left open for an attack without the attacker having to authenticate from additional device or email. But nonetheless, this is a good strategy that every company or website should implement to protect themselves and their users.